all the things to do. That's what I was going to talk about, so I'll just take questions now. Not really. I want to thank them for putting this on. They've been coming to Schmoochklooper. I'll tell you what that means just a second. It's a carp tournament that I've been putting on for years and years. Before, started in Wenatchee when I lived there, then in Spokane, and then I left the area for a while, went down to California to work at the travel department in Redding, California, at the fly shop. But when I came back, along with Emerald Waters Fly Shop in Seattle, we started this going again. So this year, it's going to be the 8th annual Invitational. I say invitational just because if I don't want somebody there, if they're just going to be disruptive, if they're just not in the spirit, I'm just going to say we're full. So it makes it easy. I've never had to do that though, but I do call it an invitational, and the way to get it invited is just to ask me. That's all it takes. I've got this sign-up sheet here. Please put your name down and an email address, and I'll get back to you. If you're interested this year, put a little star by it or something, because it's coming up July 18, 19, and 20. I got to tell you something about Drew. I don't know how many of you really know him, but when he fishes, he's one of the last holdouts of smoking a pipe. And that thing is like a steam engine coming up the river or going across the lake. He's stuck in his mouth all the time. And I would be surprised if his stem doesn't have teeth marks in it, Because when he sets a hook, he sets it not just with his arm, but with his mouth and teeth also. He comes back on those fish. Well, one day he was coming up the river. I think it was on the Clearwater, if the story's right. And he's puffing away, come to this area. It's kind of a swimming area, a local hole. And there's all these kids swimming and playing there and just having a great time. And then there's a lady on shore watching them. So he walks up to the lady and he says, good afternoon. I see all the kids are out here enjoying the sunshine and everything. Is this part of a school program? She says, no, these are all my kids. He goes, what? How come you have so many kids? He says, well, I love my husband. He goes, I love my pipe too, but I take it out once in a while. That's actually from, probably a lot of you, Groucho Martz used to have a show called You Bet Your Life in the 50s. And he had a woman on there, and that's what he did, because he's known for smoking his cigars and raising his eyebrows like that. I've known this, but I did a little bit more research so that I could remember this. But carp were actually brought here from Europe in the mid-1800s. This whole northwest area and across the United States. Across the United States. And for one reason or another, floods. People wanted them in their waters. They spread. And they multiplied everywhere. Then they were considered a nuisance fish for the longest time. Well, I did this float. I was fishing for trout, but I saw all these big carp. And I tried to catch them. I couldn't. I could get them to follow the fly, but I couldn't get them to take it. So when I went back, is that still up there? No. The fellow I was with in that picture up here is Darce Knoble. He has a fly shop called the Desert Angler in Ephrata. He worked for me at the fly shop I had in Wenatchee. That guy right there. And he was interested in it too. For the next 2 years, on his days off, he went banks mostly, but also on the Columbia River, trying to figure this out. Because it isn't like trout fishing. It isn't like swinging a fly for steelhead. It isn't like blindly retrieving and having the fish grab it and take off. This is a visual game. you have to have Polaroids. You have to have a hat with a brim so you can see the fish. Even when it's muddy, if you're used to it, if it's muddy, it's probably because there's a lot of fish eating in there. And that's a good sign. If it's crystal clear, then it's a lot more difficult, and you'll see them far off. And they are. He alluded to how spooky the fish are. Tyler did. I can't remember what he did. Anyway, I have them, and the same way with bonefish or a lot of fish. When they come up, the closer they get, the farther down you're crouching. You're getting down in that old bonefish crouch. It's like this. And then you're going, well, when you do that, the fish see it and they spook. So you have to go like that. Roll cast is fine because it doesn't send that fly screaming at the water. I had a friend I was fishing with in Mexico. He's one of the best casters I know, and especially for being in Mexico, he's really good. And we were having bonefish after bonefish after bonefish come by. He would get up, he'd take that, and he's making a sloppy ass cast. I couldn't believe it. I said, how come he's doing that? And he's catching fish, and I fire these bullet casts right at the fish, right on their nose, and they're gone. Well, that should have answered my own question right there, because his fly would land like that. My fly would land like that. And that'll scare carp, that'll scare bonefish, that'll scare permit. Any fish in shallow water, you can't have that fly just jump right on it like that. I mean, you just have to take it easy. Well, getting back to the story with Doris, he said, Bill, one day he called, he said, Bill, I figured it out. And I said, well, what is it? And he says, you don't feel the fish take. You will not feel it. You have to see it. And you have to interpret the fish body language to know when he's taking. If this is your fish in shallow water and he's muddy, like they were talking about, mud, that's they're feeding, its tail up, head down. You want to bring that fly, you can do a drag and drop, you can cast to it. Mostly you don't want to smash it down like that, but cast out here, and then drag it over, and then put it down in front of them. Now you got to remember there's mud all around them, because they get down there, they make that divot in the water with their snout, just like bonefish. And they go like that, and they're blowing out and everything, and it kicks up insects and such. And so you want your fly to come down. We have eyes in front of our face. They have eyes on the sides of their face. So it comes down like this, and when it does, that fish will, you can't see the fish, you can't see the fly because there's mud, but you can see part of the back and the tail, even if it's not sticking out of the water. And what it'll do is go down, and that fish will go just like that. In fact, a fellow here told me, put it into words, exactly what I'm trying to say. He was at a schmooze and he says, you can see the reflection. You almost have to have sun to fish for them because you can't see them when there's clouds in the sky. See, that fish will turn. You can almost see it with this. It turns. See how the light hits it? When it turns like that? That's your strike. It's not going to, hey, I'm here, pull back on it. That's the strike right there. So it's a real visual game. And I just took 5 years off of you guys learning right there. You look at it. You what?
Keep going. You're doing good.
But that was the key. He'd finally figured it out. We hadn't gone through enough flies. At that time, the fly we used mostly was a rubber-legged hare's-ear. And they used to love it. I don't know why they don't love it now. It's probably because we don't use it now. You know, as you evolve in any sport and especially if you're a fly tyer, you're not satisfied with what worked in the first place. You need to evolve with it. So you bring all these flies, you make them more complicated, or you simplify them, and you get them down. But when it comes back down to it, I almost think I should go back to a rubber-legged tarsier just for the hell of it, because there are a lot of small stuff when it goes down and hits in that mud and poofs up, you're going to grab it. Well, anyway, he finally figured it out. He figured out how to catch a spooky fish in hard conditions. Sometimes it's muddy, sometimes it's not. We didn't know anybody in the area. Jim over here, who you'll listen to later, there weren't many people carping. I called them closet carpers because they did not want to come out of the closet and let people know that they actually targeted that fish. They might say, when they come into the store, they say, "What you been doing?" "Oh, I've been fishing for carp." "Oh, let me tell you, I was bass fishing once. I got this fish on and it took off and it was the biggest bass I've ever had. It was so big, it was into my backing, and that's unheard of with bass." And he said, "I brought it in and it was a damned old carp." I said, "Well, what the hell are you fishing for?" "It's the take, it's the run, it's the excitement. You got to bring it in. That's what counts. It's not what it looks like." And as you fish for them more and more, I won't say they get more beautiful, but you learn to tolerate their looks in some ways, and in others you just learn to appreciate what's there. So this fish that was brought over here in the mid-1880s spread throughout the lower 48 and Hawaii, so you don't have to go very far to find carp anywhere. Even in the middle of Seattle, Green Lake has all kinds of carp in it. I don't fish it much just because I've always been kind of not a loner, but I don't like, I would go steelheading at a place that didn't have people and maybe didn't have steelhead, rather than go to a place that had a lot of people and a lot of steelhead. That's just the way I've been. And what brings that to mind is the mouth of the Grand Ronde when it's really moving. There are all kinds of people down there, hardly any room to get in and make a cast. And that's not why I fish. And anytime you can go out there and be on the water, and especially if you're looking at new waters, like I was yesterday, a bunch of us went out. It was new to most of us. And I like to cruise the shoreline. I like to go right along the drop-off. Now, catch me if I fall. Go right along the drop-off here like this, and I'm looking deeper water. I'm looking towards the shore. I'm looking all over for signs. I'm looking for the tracks, the pock marks in the mud. I'm looking for all of that. And if I don't catch a fish, that's okay. A caught fish would make the day a little better, but it isn't necessary to make my day. My day's made because even though I'm retired and I just sit around thinking about carp or fishing somewhere else, even if I go out, that's a good day for me. I've learned a lot of travel fishing, and I work for Fishing Travel, and I did it on my own. I host trips around the world, and I learned a long time ago that the narrower your expectations are, I'm going to go and catch the biggest steelhead I ever caught. I'm going to go and catch a ton of carp. I'm going to, whatever it might be, you're setting yourself up for failure. What you need to do is say, I'm going fishing. And if you get out fishing, your day's a success because your goal has been completed. Now, if you can actually catch that fish or see them even, or learn something when you're out there, that's bonus. I've told people, I was talking to a fellow today, the day I go fishing and don't learn something, even if it's something not to do, if I don't learn something, that's the day I quit. I mean, one of the reasons a lot of you, I'm sure, have stayed with fly fishing is because you can never learn it all. You just can't do it. So anyway, let me get back to the story. They were brought over here in the mid-1800s. They brought over for food fish, and they're also brought over for sport. Well, they didn't catch on with sport, and they really didn't catch on with food fish either. We didn't have that many people over here that enjoyed eating carp.
Including you. Including you.
Me, I've never had carp. I got a great story about that. It sounds a little cruel, but it's a good story. Darcy and I were out, and we wanted to see what one tasted like. So we put it in the bottom of the boat, and then we kept fishing, and we both looked at each other and said, "You really want to eat carp?" And I said, "No, I thought you were." He says, "No." So after a half hour in the boat, we put the fish back in the water and swam off. I mean, that's one tough fish. Carp. Carp fly. I mean, carp belt.
That's a nice belt.
I don't know if you've seen any of the people out there, but the guy that makes these belts out there. And
Carp brain.
pardon me?
Carp brain. Brain.
Raining. Oh,
They're custom.
carp brain. I forgot to bring my charger for my hearing aids, so I apologize when I don't hear everything that's said, and I apologize if I don't answer all the questions because I don't hear them or I don't understand them. You just go, "Hey, Bill, how much do you lead them by when you cast?" Then I can kind of get it, when I get to that point. Anyway, the carp spread for Washington, and up till last year, you didn't even need a fishing license for them. You could just fish. Last year, they started that you do need a license. Their excuse for that, I'll tell you another little story. I did a little talk about carp fishing with the Fish and Game Department when I was in Spokane. And right at the end, I says, well, if you want to see the carp disappear, make them a game fish and put these guys in charge of operating it. They never invited me back. They didn't want anything to do with me. But now that it's going to be more regulated, they said it was because too many people were out there actually fishing for bass or bluegill or crappie, and they could just say, no, I'm fishing for carp. And that's understandable. And I can believe that, and I don't mind contributing to it. I mean, especially when I'm retired, my fishing license cost me $5. So it worked out pretty good. So the carp are prolific. Yesterday, they were in their spawning mode. One female is running like hell to get away from about 6 or 8 or 10 males chasing after them, and they're all squirming around and kicking up things. And they're next to impossible to catch that way. Not impossible, next to impossible. And you just have to put in hours and hours, maybe days of casting to those guys before you're ever going to get one. What you need to do is find them feeding, and you need to see them in mud, or if they're in the rocks, you need to see that nose down. And if you take nothing away with this whole day, remember this: fish like a heron.
Yeah.
You get that? You see, watch heron fish, they're slow, they're deliberate, they spot their fish. They go like this. Fish is still there. You make your cast. I once crept up to a carp doing that. He was up there feeding, and I got right behind him. He was looking that way. Got underneath him, I tickled his belly. He took off. First, I thought he was going to shoot up at shore. He made a turn and went out the other side. So anyway, I lose track so easily when I get talking carp. I could go on for hours and hours, and especially the different things that have happened to us. But Darcy and I know there are other people doing it, but Darcy and I were proud of it, and we we let people know. We told people about it. We had flies for them. We've developed other flies. There's a guy over there. A couple of those guys there that come to Schmutzklooper every year, they've gone and done it. They've taken tying flies for carp to a whole other level. There's people here, out there especially, and tying in one of the clinic rooms. They take fishing for carp at a whole level. Some of them, you want to be able to see the fly, but mostly you want the carp to see the fly. And he was talking about earlier about how you put weight on them. I have never been good at remembering what color head means how much lead I put on the body. So I put eyes on them, and they're different size eyes. And I can just look at a glass and say, oh, this is a heavy one. This is a light one. I also fish by dapping a lot. I make a cut bamboo, and I make what I call carp ambush. And they're from 11 to 14 feet long. It's not a tenkara rod because tenkara has a fixed line from the very tip all the way out the line. So if I saw carp right there with her shoes, I have to go back up. So when I can cast to it because there's a fixed amount of line from the tip back. So I made one out of a bamboo pole. I call it the Oklahoma tenkara. I've got the guides are paper clips that I use electrical tape and wrap on there. And the tip top is also a paper clip that I tape to the top of it. Crude, ugly looking, but that's what I use in certain waters, especially when it's slightly off color, and you can fish like a herring, get right up to them and present the fly. I've seen more fish that spook from this instead of this, and also for that fly that slams into the water right in front of them rather than pop in front of them. That's what'll catch the fish, and that's what it'll do. So remember, fish like a heron. I think we're lucky that a fish that tolerates high temperature waters, because during July, August, those are the 2 months, at least in the Pacific Northwest, that we fish for carp mostly. Some in June, like now, when they're in the spawning mode, which is usually sometime in May it'll start, and quit sometime in June, depending on the weather, the temperature. The hotter it is, the earlier it is, they get spawning over with, and the later it is, hot water, warm water, I should say, right around 70, 72 is perfect. They start spawning when it's right around high 50s, low 60s, so that's taken care of. When they're spawning, I always refer to it because I did catch on one way how to do it in the Spokane River. And they were just fish everywhere, bumping into my legs even, just chasing each other all around. But around 1 o'clock, time for sex was over. They're out having a smoke, you know, and they're just sort of laying out there in the water, just lollygagging. And I found I could put a fly in front of them. That's like having a smoke and a little snack too, you know. So that's when I found I could catch them. When they're chasing each other all around, that's next to impossible. It doesn't stop me from doing it, and I have done it, especially if I can find an area where I can ambush them, which would be standing in the reeds, kind of like this, and then watch for them coming, and then put it out in front of them like this. Not slap it down right in front of them, but putting them out and let it come in, and depending on the bottom, then twitch it in a few times. If it's shallow water, they can see it, they'll jump on it. 1 out of 1,000 times, they'll jump on it. So you have to be patient. You have to be stealthy. Fish like a heron, remember that. Okay. I want to draw your attention to the room next door. There are a lot of companies and company representatives that have taken time out to bring their wares to this show. You really need to, in between shows here, if there's time, or before you leave, get out there and go through and talk to them. If they have rods to cast, watch the casting demonstration and use one of the rods and actually cast it. See what they're like. I like a rod that has a fairly soft tip and then gets stiffer down through the butt section. I like it because that soft tip will absorb the rushes that those big fish will put on. We broke so many 5 and 6 weights when we first started, so when we started going to 7 and 8 weights. Same things we use for bonefish. I get a bonefish fly line, bonefish leaders, fluorocarbon, and a bonefish rod. The only thing I do different is I prefer my reels to click. And I just love that click sound. I mean, that's just like harp music, going into heaven, you know. It just, that I love to hear it, so that's why I use them. They're not protected from the sand. You just have to watch out that you don't put it in the sand. That's like when you go to the doctor, you know, say, oh man, my leg hurts so much. It hurts when you do this. What's he going to tell you? Don't do that. You know, and that's the same way with the sand and the reels and everything else. He's looking at his watch. He told me the other day, he says, Bill, your speech that you're going to give, how long is it going to be? I says, how long do you want me to talk? Because it's hard to shut me up once I get going on these. So anyway, if I'm going into somebody else's time, no, okay.
Tell us about Schmutz Cooper.
Schmutz Cooper. Here's where it came from. It was a hot and windless afternoon, and the carp were clooping the schmutz. It was written by John Gierak. I called him to say if it was okay that I used his name, and he says, yeah, but you spelled schmutz wrong. So I was spelling it S-H-M. It's S-C-H-M-O-O-T-S, schmutz. And he said it's a Yiddish word, referring to garbage. and these fish are sucking the garbage off the top of the water. That's literally what it means, but mostly what it means is there's fish out there and you're looking for them to eat too. I have an invitational every year, like I referred to. Please come up here and put your information here. I'll send it to you and put you on the list for next year. Or if you want to go this year, there's room to go. And just put a star next to your name or something, and I'll get it out to you right away, and we can take off.
Unless you don't like them.
What?
If you don't like them, then there's no room.
Yeah.
If what? Oh yeah, right. Unless you're that guy. I'm sorry. We're filled. So, okay, I'll cut this short. I don't know if you've been seeing the slideshow behind us. It was so cool. For all these years, my brother is a videographer and a photographer extraordinaire. He's got the patience. Of course, I had the hard job of trying to catch a fish, but he was behind the camera all the time. And he's taking these shots, GoPro, and he follows me around, and then I could fish and he could take pictures of it, which was really, really cool. And unfortunately, he had polio when he was a kid. And polio, they're finding out now, all those kids in the 50s, it's coming back to bite them in the ass here in the 2000s. And he's one of them. So he can barely move, can't get in and out of a boat now. In fact, he took a fall. He would have been here today, except he took a fall. These are some, if you can look in the background too, you can see Banks Lake. It's right in the middle of the desert out there. It's so cool. There are places that are mud flats. There are places that are rock flats. There's places where you're protected from a north wind, places that are protected from a south wind. People who sign up for this, I have a map that I give to each person that signs up. We send it around to the people who've been there before. They put X's on the map places they found fish. You can find fish if they're walking. You can find fish if you're on a stand-up paddleboard. Find fish if you're kayaking or if you have a flats boat. There are places to go there that you can catch fish. There you can see, just barely up there. And how clear the water is there.
Do you need to be, I don't know, can you hear me all right?
Yeah,
Do you need to be up high? I mean, like.
well, that always helps. Anytime you're sight fishing, the higher up you are, the more you can see, but the higher up you are, the more they can see you. So it's really good when it's slightly off color, dirty when they're feeding. If you're up high, because then they can't see you, make a cast. And that works out fairly well. So I do like fishing from a boat for that reason, or a stand-up paddleboard. They can really do well with that. But wading, I have no trouble with that. It just limits you a little bit, not much. Especially if you take your time. I know people walk across flats, even bone fishing, they're going, walking across the flats, spooking everything around except the dumbest of fish that are going to stick around, rather than take a step. How many of you hunt? A lot of you? How many of you still hunt? And by still, I don't mean still do it today. I mean you stand still. There you go. Archers do it a lot. And you'll make a step, you'll look around. Also, look behind you. Come up, take another step, look around. Blend in with the background if you can. I've gotten right in the reeds before, reeds up like this, and just make a step like so. One more story and then I'll turn it over. I was fishing and there was this stuff all along the top of the water and I could see this carp going. He was clooping like that. And you could hear it. And then he would disappear. He'd come up just maybe a foot further on and go. So every time he was up going, I'd go, trying to head him off at the pass. Then when he'd come up and stop, or was moving in the water, I'd stop too. Until I got right up on this fish, and he came up and he went, and I dropped my fly right into his mouth. And I didn't have to cast, I just went, chink, chink, and had him on. So it's fun to do those things. I like it anyway. And I will turn it over to the next speaker. I'll open up to questions any of you may have.
Who's doing the slides? We go a slide back. You're looking at poop? You're looking at mud.
Looks like both.
There's both in there. That's a tiny little indentation I decided to peek back in and look at. And I started seeing the poofs right here. And then back further.
Yeah, okay.
And then back a little bit further, I could see muds.
I see, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Poofs, you'll usually see 2 or 3 or 4 at a time, where their tails hitting the mud on their way out. The muds will usually stay right there unless there's a current, and the current moves them on.
You didn't consider the poofs klooper.
Pardon me?
No, poofs klooper, that didn't get considered for the schmoots name. Never mind. The poofs klooper.
Schmoots klooper.
I got it.
Schmoots. Klooping the schmoots. I like that term. Klooping the schmoots. Okay, any other questions? Sorry to ramble on so long. No questions? All right.
Big hand for Bill, everybody.
Oh, you want my cane?
Yeah, I want that. I definitely need that.